Welcome to Ask Earl Anything. This is the show where your questions make the show. If I don't have questions, I don't have a show. Today I'm recording this the way I'm trying to start to record some of my lesson shows using Logic Pro Audio in case I do play something. I just did a cymbal video where I used the same setup. So that's what this extra microphone here is for today. I have a few questions. This is for the September Ask Earl Anything show. The month of August was a month of rest. Even though you wouldn't know it by looking at my output, most weekends I was recording and playing drums and making drum covers, but I wasn't talking on a live stream and I wasn't doing these kinds of shows. Believe it or not, these shows take a little bit more out of me than making drum covers. This morning I made 2 drum covers in a matter of a couple hours. This weekend I think I made a total of 7 drum covers this weekend. Now, of course, some of you might say, well, the music you're playing isn't the hardest music. That's debatable, I think. I think the music I play is the music I want to play. And that's really what this is all about for me, is when I play music, or when I'm doing a show like a live stream show, or when I'm talking to you guys on Ask Earl Anything, really what we're talking about here is doing things I want to do and share. So what this channel has been about from its inception was, number one, it was a place for me to share my knowledge with many of you. So I've always wanted to be an encouragement to the community. I've always wanted to be an encouragement to the other drummers out there. And I've wanted to make sure that any of the things I talk, anytime I talk on camera, that these camera talks are as truthful and as much sharing my knowledge as possible. Of course, I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything. As you know, I usually say things as a disclaimer saying, well, you could do this, you could do that, because truthfully, there's not one way to do any of these things. There's not one cymbal company. There's not one drum company. There's not a better this or better that. There's a better for a situation possibly, but there's not a better best scenario. So what I like to share from is where my preferences and how I think about things. So that's where this show came from, you guys asking questions about why I did things in my videos. And like I say in my tagline, if you don't ask questions, we don't have a show. It's true. So I didn't have a lot of questions, but I had a few questions during the month of August that I'm going to address today. And I'm going to save the vibey question for the last question, kind of telling you where I'm going with the direction of the channel and some other things closer to the end. So let's get to the first question. This comes from SF Drums and Media. He said, Earl, have you ever played a 22-inch Zildjian Earth Ride? That's my favorite ride cymbal now. So the answer to that question is yes, I've played a Zildjian Earth Ride. It might have been a 20. I don't know if it was a 22. But the vibe and the concept of the Earth Ride, I remember specifically from back in the 70s when it began. And it might have been the late 70s, early 80s that it's definitely in the 80 catalog. So the Earth Ride was around in 1980. Probably came out in 79. The Earth Ride was the first unlathed cymbal that Zildjian produced, meaning they did no lathing. I think there's hammering on it, but there's no lathing. There may not even be any hammering on it. It may just be a blank that they shaped, and that was it. There's no lathing on it. It was very heavy, very pingy, kind of dry because it didn't have the lathing on it, from what I remember. And it wasn't a cymbal I liked. If any of you guys have watched my latest cymbal video, you know I just bought this Avidus 22-inch ride. And what I like in a ride cymbal is I like to have some spread. I like to have crashability. I like to have a nice bell and something that cuts through, but it's got to also kind of sing and shimmer a little bit, and it's got to be more than a one-trick pony. And I found the Earth Ride to be a one-trick pony, meaning you hit it and you got that kind of bell-like tone throughout the cymbal, even though it might have been a little bit not as high-pitched as the bell is here because you're hitting more down on the cymbal. you got that drier bell-like tone thing going with it. So that was my problem with the Earth Ride, personally. I like something that's got a little more spread to it. It's got a nice pitch. It kind of mixes with the frequencies that really work in a mix. It's not too dark. This is not a real dark cymbal, but it's not a bright cymbal either. So this is a really nice cymbal. I'm enjoying it. I'm doing a bunch of covers with my Zildjians right now. I've also been doing some covers with the Paistes in the other kit in the other room. So what's my takeaway on Earth Rides? I think they're a little pingy to me, and there's something that doesn't really do anything for me. Now, I've played unlathed cymbals. I have a Paiste Dark Energy Mark I prototype, which has a pretty unlathed concept to it. It's a thinner cymbal than I think the Earth Ride is, meaning it's not as heavy. But trying to see, it's over there. It's got some lathing on it and some hammering in it, and the bottom has very little lathing on it, mostly just hammering. But it's not the Earth Ride. The Earth Ride was a specific thing. It was very heavy cymbal, very heavy cymbal. So for me, that's just not my cup of tea. So anyhow, hope that helps you. But if you love it, that's the key thing. If you love the cymbal, then that's cool for me. So remember that. All right, this question comes from Mike Seibel. I think that's how you say his name. He said, and he sent me this via Facebook Messenger, I believe. Or no, it was an email, actually. I have a question about drum tuning. You might save for this one for Ask Earl special, whatever. I've never been great at tuning drums. A few years ago, I started to get more analytical about it and started using the TuneBot gizmo. It measures the fundamental note at each lug and gets the head consistent across the lug at the desired fundamental tones and across the top and bottom heads. I am comfortable that I have them all tuned to a desirable interval per the suggested tuning, and they sound like a pleasing progression. However, I get different stick responses from drum heads. For example, double stroke rolls on a snare is easy, small tom not too bad, getting progressively worse as you hit the floor tom, which is almost impossible to get stick bounce out of. I've played electronic drums for many years, a Roland kit, and that wasn't an issue on an electronic kit because the heads were all tensioned the same way. And were made for playing comfortably. It's a long question, by the way. Not so with acoustic heads, since tuning for comfortable play is not the same as the tension for desired tuning. Any thoughts? Am I doing something obviously stupid here? Well, Mike, there's nothing stupid about what you're doing. What you're describing is how drums are tuned. I mean, the smaller the drum, you can get a higher pitch with it, or you can go smaller, or you can get a deeper pitch. If you go deeper, the drum becomes harder to get the bounce. You actually have to pull the bounce out. Snare drum's usually tight. So a tight snare drum, it's going to be a little bit different in that a snare drum, it's designed to be tighter, so it's easier to get the bounce off of a snare drum, unless you tune it down. So this snare drum is kind of a plat. So it's still got it, it's not tuned up really tight. But if I did tune it up tight, tune it up a little tighter, which is not my favorite playing range for this drum, by the way. I'm just putting up a half a turn. By the way, I don't tune with a TuneBot, but I know guys that do, and they tune fine. I was just talking to my friend John at LCK Drums. He's kind of hangs out with Drumman 190. I think he was his teacher. He did a whole video on snare drums using the TuneBot as the starting point. I mean, I have nothing against that. All right, there's a nice tight snare drum. Makes my doubles work a lot better. So you can see not so much, right? So you have to work harder. So the bottom line is, if it's a smaller drum, you're going to have some... Oh, thank you, Mr. Metronome. If you have a smaller drum that's tighter, it's going to be easier to pull the sound out. That's why jazz drummers have higher pitched drums. They're into having that higher pitched drum because it makes it easier to do the doubles. And a lot of jazz stuff is... Now, when I'm working on a floor tom, I've got to pull the sound out. So that means I've got to work on pulling the stick up and really being decisional about my doubles to get them clean. By the way, I know my doubles are not clean. I'm not Thomas Lang. I wish I was. I don't have hours to spend at a pad to do this. But if you practice, you got to get on a kit eventually and start doing it. I do like to do roll exercises on the drums. That's my little cheater lick. It's actually finishing a roll. It's like a 5-stroke roll, I think. Or a 6-stroke roll. It's a 6-stroke roll. So it's like a 5-stroke with an extra bass drum on it. So you just got to sit there and practice it, but you've got to tune your drums to the tension that sounds right to you playing wise to do what you need to do out of it. Now, if you're a jazz drummer, you may like your drums tuned up high and it works great for you. And I know a lot of guys that like to tune their drums up higher. I'm more of a rock pop guy, so my drums are usually a little bit lower pitched. I have tuned them up, and they sound different, and you can get that tuning out of these Gretsch drums. Same with my snare drums. This was tuned down. The other thing is your technique. I've got this strange right-hand technique I use on my cymbals, where I actually end up holding the stick here. I've been trying to work on my technique with my left hand the same way, and I don't have this together. A lot of times my left hand ends up being back here. Anyhow, all I can tell you to do is practice, Mike. That's what's going to take. Practicing it. If you want to tune your drums in the jazz tuning, it may not work for the song you're working on, you know. So if you're playing jazz, yeah, jazz tuning is cool. But if you're playing more of a rock thing, it's not going to work. By the time you get to a 16-inch floor tom, way down there, forget about it. It's another world, you know, so... 16-inch floor tom is just so big, you know. This is a 10 and a 14. Anyhow, I say tune to the song, tune for what kind of music you're playing, and work on your technique to pull more of it out. And I realize on certain things I'm not going to be able to pull it out, so I'm not going to do doubles down there. I'm going to do the doubles up high or on the snare drum. It's just a choice thing. So, something to think about. Thanks, Mike, for asking the question, though. All right, the next question comes from K-Man Can Drum, Kelly, and Kelly Kusumato. I always kind of mess with your name, Kelly, you know that. Here's the question. He says, the This was on the Orleans one. Nice shuffle. He said, question, do you tear down and set up these different kits, or are they set up in different parts of your studio? It looks like the former, right? That's a pretty crazy. I can't be bothered to laugh out loud. So his question is all the different kits I use on my videos. Now, one of the things I'm into when doing drum videos is I'm into using different setups based on what I want to do. So I've shot some B-roll. I'm going to put some of that B-roll in here so you can see my studio. I don't have a lot of drum kits, believe it or not. I really only have 3 main drum kits. One is a travel kit that's in bags all the time. The other is this Gretsch kit. Now, this Gretsch kit with the 14x20 bass drum, 1979 Gretsch, bought in New York City, Professional Percussion Center, 1979, had the Pearl hardware installed from day one, didn't have the rims mounts, put the rims mounts on in the 80s. This drum kit has got 6 toms with it. An 8x8, an 8x10, an 8x12, a 9x13, a 14x14, and a 16x16. Forget about the snare drums. Those are just the toms and the kick drum. This kit gets set up all different ways. Sometimes it's 10-14, sometimes it's 10-12-16, sometimes it's 12-16, sometimes it's 10-13-16, sometimes it's 12-13-16, sometimes it's 13-16, sometimes it's 10-13-16, sometimes it's 10-12-14, sometimes it's 12-13-14. Sometimes it's 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16. Sometimes it's 10, 14, 16. You can see the combinations are endless what I can do with the drum kit. And I have. If you go back through my videos, you will see this kit set up many different ways. 2 toms up top, 3 toms up top, 2 floor toms, 1, rack tom. It all depends on what I'm feeling that day. So that's the first thing you need to know. Now, I've got another kit in Studio B. Today, I've got half the Gretsch kit in Studio B. But in Studio B, you'll find anything from my whole concert toms, all my concert toms, which are, I've got a 6x11 Octobon as a 6-inch tom. I got a 5.5 by 8 by 5.5 concert tom, a 6.5 by 10, and I have 2 of those. I have a 9x13, 10x14, 12x15, 14x16 fiberglass concert toms. And they go over top of this Gretsch bass drum I have, which has been given to me by my friend Scott Hazen. And when he gave it to me, he didn't have all the lugs for it, so he put some pearl lugs on it, which really looked really bad. I had a whole set of Ludwig lugs that fit the holes, so I put Ludwig lugs on it. So it looks like a Ludwig bass drum, but it's actually a Gretsch because it's got a Gretsch shell with the gray inside of it. 22, 14x22, kicks, rear end. It's a great studio bass drum. It's not great for taking out on gigs. I think I've taken it out on 1 gig my whole career. And I think I took it out with a couple concert toms when I played with the Swigs outdoors one day. And it was an outdoor concert, and I didn't, outdoor event, and it was a possibility of rain. I didn't want to bring this kit. And I didn't want to bring my little Gretsch kit, my little 14x18 maple Gretsch with a 6.5x10 double-headed tom, 8x12 double-headed tom round badge. The other one is a double-headed tom from the 70s. The bass drum's from 1980 because it's got the square badge on it. And the floor tom is a 14x14 Catalina maple with pearl die-cast hoops on it, just like the 6.5x10 has. That's my workhorse around town kit. When I'm playing church or I have to play a small club, I would bring that kit. I brought it out with the Swigs. I brought it out for church gigs all the time. So that kit stays in bags. Occasionally I set it up out here, and I have done a few covers with that kit. So you'd have to go back a few years for me to see some of those. Actually, last year around this time, I think I did something, a Tower Power one. I had just put on the hydraulic heads on it. I have a set of Evans hydraulic heads on that kit. And an EMAD bass drum head on a little 18-inch bass drum. It sounds amazing, works fine, works great. So as you can see, I have all kinds of kits. I have 2 rooms. So I do have Studio B, which is set up and fully mic'd with a snake over to it, to my board. It's got 8 of its own channels on my board, and this has got 8 of its own channels on my board. And of course, I could mix and match channels here. I've got the master snake goes here, so this is a short snake into the Studio B. It comes into the master snake over here, and I've got it tied in. So in actuality, I could do 16 channels of drums here if I wanted to. I find that 8 channels of drums are fine for me. Every once in a while, I'm asked to put a room mic up or an extra snare mic or double mic'd kick drum, but from drum covers, not so much. Drum covers, my standard setup is 57 on the top. I use my E604s on my toms. I got 3 of those. I got an MD421 if I have the 4th tom here, which is Sennheiser. I've got some SM57s for toms. I've got a whole bunch of other tom mics of different. I got all kinds of microphones. Forget about it. I got all kinds of microphones hanging around here, from good to bad to indifferent. So I've got plenty of mics to mic things, and you've seen it. And I've got 2 full sets of mics. My kick drum mics, this is a Beta 52 on this one, and I've got a D112E on the other kick drum in there, and a 57 on the snare. So my Studio B setup, the main thing in the Studio B setup is I've got a set of Octava MK012s in a XY configuration above my head. So those are the Russian-made Octava mics. That's my overheads, and then I got the kick and the snare, and the tom mics could be anything, depending on the day of the week. In here, I've got SM81s above my head that are actually tied into the ceiling, and they're in an XY over top of the kit. So that's my other mics. So, yeah, Kelly, I basically have 2 setups, but I also will tear stuff down and throw stuff around. I think guys like to see different setups, to be honest. This weekend I cut with the kit with the 5-piece 12, 13, 16 floor tom and the 22-inch bass drum, but I also cut the Logical song by Supertramp using a 10, 12, 14 rototom, which I think was kind of unique. And as you know, I've been cutting covers in there with the Concert Tom kit for a while now. So, yeah, I've got lots of drums, lots of different setups. That's kind of my thing. That's what I do for fun. And then you add the cymbals in, be it Zildjians or Paistes. I have like 2 sets of Paistes that I could use. I've actually had 2 different sets of Paistes out. Now I got a whole set of Avitas Zildjians A's. I've also got the Caropes. I've got a whole set of Sabians. I've been collecting drum stuff for 45 years. So with that being said, that's what you see. You see a studio that's full of stuff. I got 11, 12 snare drums hanging around in here. I mean, I've got all kinds of stuff to try, all kinds of different things. So that's what it's all about, Kelly. So thank you for asking that question. My last question, I don't know if it is really a question. It comes from Bill Morehouse on the last one. He basically said this. He said he was talking to me about my channel update and my need for some space in the month of August. And he said something about, he said it this way. Cool, man, good self-awareness. There was this really good post by Yoga Drummer, who I don't know Yoga Drummer yet, on Instagram. She had a quandary that you'd reminded me of. Life is about living, as you said. And as a yoga teacher, she is very aware of mindfulness and living in the moment. Recording stuff for social media takes away from living in the moment. And at the same time, we develop these amazing connections. So the urge is to make the connections is in the conflict with the need to be in the moment. Hopefully that doesn't sound too new agey. Well, it doesn't sound too new agey, and it actually is a pretty important point. And I said to him that I would explain what I mean by my comment, which was social media can suck a lot of time out of your life. And I'm trying to find the balance of life and the need for some space this month. It's pretty important. I'll explain more now. So I wanted my last topic to be Earl. I'm going to call it Earl 4.0. I've been doing this YouTube thing. I have 1 million views on YouTube now. I just crossed 1 million views on YouTube in August. And I've been doing this YouTube thing officially since 2017. I started making some unofficial fun videos, like a Paiste video and a video about Danny Seraphin and John Hammond, the session drummer from Nashville, back in 2016. And then I made my first drum cover that got any kind of push in 2016 too, which was the Zombies Time of the Season. And then I did Long Train Runnin' by the Doobie Brothers. And those videos are still videos that get a lot of airplay, 5 years later. The truth of the matter is, probably why I have 1 million views has to do with two things. I've got a few videos that really have made my channel. And when guys look at my channel, they say, how does he have almost 5,000 subscribers? Well, if you look at all the videos I've done, that explains how I've got almost 5,000 subscribers. Because in the last 4 years, you would say he doesn't have very much of a life. All he does is make videos all day long. In actuality, like I've said many times on the show, I really don't make videos all day long. I have a couple days I make videos. Okay? I make videos on the weekends. Friday afternoon about 4 o'clock, 4:30, I may come in here and cut a cover. Saturday between 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 at night, maybe 5:30 occasionally, I'll cut a bunch more covers, or do a live stream, or do an Ask Earl Anything. And then Sundays when I'm not playing drums at church, and even when I am playing drums at church, I'll do the mornings doing a couple covers, and maybe the afternoon doing a couple covers. And then during the week, I don't do covers. I don't make videos. I pretty much may be thinking about songs I'll do the next week, and I may put them in a little folder in my Spotify so that I can make extract stems of them and all that stuff. But in actuality, this has been going on for the last 4 years. I don't really do anything during the week. It's all on the weekend. And why do I do it on the weekend? Because I have time on the weekend. My wife's a college professor. She's written books. She's working on papers. We spend time in the morning before the day starts. We spend time in the evening before the day ends together, hours together. We talk a lot and we have a great relationship. And if we want to do something like go to Fort Myers or go to Miami for a day or do something, we schedule that in, and I do those things and I work my video schedule around that. So my video schedule and what I've done over the last few years is been on my terms. It's not on somebody else's terms. What I do on Instagram, which is how I post on Instagram, is I take my videos I make on the weekend and I put them on my iPad. And in the morning, I basically grab one of those videos, bring it into iMovie on the iPad, and I make a minute clip or a 50-second clip or whatever it is. And I do that sitting on the toilet, just to let you all know. So I usually just sit there and make my little clip of the video. It takes me a couple. Literally, I can cut video faster than most guys. I don't really think a lot about this stuff anymore. And I've gotten rather good at it, to be honest. Good enough that you guys don't realize how fast I make videos. I make videos very, very fast. I've been making a lot of 2-camera videos for the last year. I kind of upped my game. For a while there, I was doing 1-camera videos. I didn't care. But I kind of like 2-camera videos. It looks cool. But there's a way in Final Cut to do a 2-camera video where you record it in Logic, you get your mixes, and then you import your mixes and your video into Final Cut. And then what I do is I take 2 or 3 mixes usually, and I sync them to one of the videos, and then I take that video I synced, and I sync that to the second video, and I make a multicam video. And then I sit there, and I cut in multicam mode, 2 cameras, like this, very fast. And I fix things if I need to. And today I did 2 drum covers in the morning, between 9 o'clock in the morning and noontime. I did 2 drum covers in that space. That included learning the song, recording the song, editing the video. So the bottom line to this whole thing is, yeah, you don't want to let social media tear you up. Now, the social media part is how much you want to spend time and react on social media. Some of you think I spend a lot of time there, but in actuality, I don't. I just have an iPad around with me, and if I'm not into something at work, every once in a while something will show up, and I'll answer a video or I'll hit a notification, and I'll say hi to somebody. I'm not spending as much time watching videos these days as I used to. There's certain guys I watch, and I watch those guys because they inspire me. Some of you inspire me that you're doing it, and I'm so happy you're doing it, and I'll try to encourage you, but I got to be honest, I can't watch every second of every video. I wish I could, I just can't. If you're playing something that's cool, I'll stay in it. If it sounds like something that's okay, I'll give you a little bit of encouragement, because I feel like everybody needs to be encouraged here. By the way, I know you're all doing that with me too. And the community is the reality of the community is we can only do what we can do. My other views come from other people finding my videos. And why do they find my videos? Because I've got 1 million views, and I've got some videos that are still in the stream every day, getting more views and more subscribers for me. And I average about 100 subscribers every month. That's what I get. I've had it as high as 151 a couple months, and it goes down sometimes to like 90. And that's kind of the range. And lately it's been quite slow, because I think everybody's kind of burnt on social media, because the media is terrible. Media makes us feel terrible. And I have to be honest, I've stopped watching news, watching controversial videos on YouTube about politics. I'm actually out of the loop on things. I don't care what this president does. I just don't care anymore. And everything's so negative, I just don't want to hear it anymore. So I look for positive, happy videos that make me happy. Mostly interviews of famous drummers and playing of famous drummers. And then some of you that inspire me to want to watch your videos and listen to what you say. And that's the truth. And some of you got some cool shows, and I like watching them. One, I like watching Chadwick Perry's. I should have this at the top of my head. As you can tell, I am riffing as I always do. But he's got a critique show where he watches videos and critiques them. I did this last time. I was on a live stream with him. I couldn't remember the name of his show, but that show I love to watch, and I'll just turn it on while I'm doing work sometimes and just listen to him talk, And I listen to Drum Man 190s and John LCK Drum interview show, and when he's got people on, and I like watching that show. And I like listening to a lot of the guys that do interviews with famous drummers. If I find a new famous drummer interview, somebody interviews Vinny or Steve Gadd, or John DeChristopher's got a great channel of doing interviews of drummers. I love that stuff. And I listen to podcasts that do that kind of stuff. And that's pretty much my listening and viewing pleasure, is that. And then in the morning, I'll watch some drum videos that inspire me. And I don't watch videos before I record them. So all the covers you see me doing, I'm not copying somebody else's cover. I'm just basically playing what I want to play on a song. And that's kind of how it works for me. So Ask Earl Anything is my show. And this is a show I, came out of guys asking me questions on videos. I did it for a long time. This is episode 98. Okay, so I've almost done 100 episodes of Ask Earl Anything. I'm almost at 5,000 subscribers. I just crossed 1 million views. What does all that mean? It doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot, guys. It just means I'm having fun and having a good time doing what I do. So, Ask Earl Anything will be back again next month in October. Hanging with the Hammer could start happening next week or at the end of the month. I plan on doing Hanging with the Hammer not as often, maybe not every week. But I want to get back into doing a live stream. I want to bring some guests on the live stream. I want to have some guys to talk to. I like those shows where I talk to people and talk with people. I've done some great shows with Tate Berkey, Chadwick Perry, Eric at the Drum Attic, Kelly Cusimano. I did Keith Scott. I've done a few more too. So and I'd like to do more. So if any of you guys want to be on my show, let me know. I love hanging with guys talking drums. That's what I do. That's what Ask Earl Anything is. That's the purpose of this show. Remember, this show is about if you have a question, please ask it. That's how I have a show here. As far as where my channel's going, I don't know. I still don't know. I'm just going to take it at the pace I can do it. And if I run out of videos one day, then you won't see them every day one day. I still haven't ran out of videos yet. I got close. A couple weeks ago, I was down to 5. Now I'm back up to 15, 20 again. That's 2 weekends of just playing drums. So all I got to say is I'm going to do this until I don't have any fun doing it anymore. And I hope you guys enjoy what I do. And thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, whatever that means. Notice that everybody says that at the end. Why? Who knows? I mean, I will say Eric at the Drum Addict does say it at the beginning, by the way. But please like and subscribe. Please watch my videos. Thank you for. Please ask some questions, and we'll talk again next time. Thanks for watching Ask Earl Anything. Have a great day.